Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror PSA presented by Scary Nerd, and as always, we are your hosts. I'm Paul.
I'm Saul.
And I'm Angie.
The following is a public service announcement.
Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. That's right. We watched Malignant from James Wan, the surprise kind of horror movie that came out recently.
It was
HBO
Voldemort
Max.
the whole time.
Okay.
The whole time.
Okay.
So let's get straight to it. What did you guys think of it? Because I got a lot to say about this damn movie.
I thought it was ridiculous fun. And yes, it was Voldemort the whole time.
Paul, what did you think?
Full confession, we had an edible when we watched this
We
movie.
did.
Okay.
A very large edible,
And,
which is why we're all hazy still right now, because it was just last night. So
And I have to go into this saying that I wanted to tell Angie this when we watched it, but I didn't want to spoil her viewing experience.
Okay.
I went into this, and I'm like, this reminds me of a 1990s Tales from the Crypt episode. And so I watched the whole thing. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to ride this edible. I'm going to watch this whole movie as like I'm watching one long Tales from the Crypt episode. And everything in this movie lined up to a Tales from the Crypt episode.
Okay.
Because
I can see
it had that Zemeckis era camera movement and angles, like especially
and
the
lighting.
angles. Yes,
It had the lighting too.
and everything like going in, like the kitchen scenes when they kill the boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, everything. This is just, and so
not even to mention the wardrobe. He had full on
Yes.
coat, gloves. I was like, look at him being fabulous
Yeah.
every time he goes and kills somebody.
like everything about this whole movie, I'm like, this is one long Tales from the Crypt episode. So when things started to go, and I figured things out in this movie pretty early on.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And because keeping in line with that
Yeah.
Tales from the Crypt thing, I'm like, all right, it's attached to her. It's probably in the back of the head, like blah, blah, blah. I thought at first that maybe they detached it and it grew on its own somehow.
Yeah,
like that
see,
kind
that's
of
where
thing.
I was kind of there first because this gave you Tales from the Crypt vibe, but I got Dark Half vibes from
Yeah,
this.
yeah, I was
So
getting
I
that
was
too.
like,
so.
yeah, I could totally see where it's going, especially with the opening and the whole hospital, and they're
Yeah.
like, cut out the cancer. I was like, okay, Dark
Yeah,
Half.
yeah,
Yeah.
So like, I knew that it was attached to the back of her head, right? And like, so I didn't know how much, because keeping in line with Tales from the Crypt, that one Don Rickles episode where he's the ventriloquist and it has that little thing that's attached to his hand that he cuts off, and then and then Bobcat Goldthwait takes it, and then he's the ventriloquist. So yes, completely. I'm like, there's something on there. And then the Tales from the Crypt episode where the ice cream men were attached at the butt.
Okay.
They were like conjoined twins, and they were the ice cream
one.
men.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was like, all right, it's attached back there. But then when they actually showed it, I'm like, that's bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
Like, I thought it was going to be a smaller thing.
Yeah.
And so I kept thinking, okay, maybe if they cut it and then it grew on its own and like that's what it is.
Oh my God! You know what it actually Gabriel, when you see it, like when you see her as a kid and you see the little Gabriel attached to it, I was like, is that the thing the stoner saw on Freddy versus Jason? What is that?
Yeah.
The
That's
weird
what it
baby
was.
thing?
Yes, I was like, what is it? I want to see it up close. I need to see more. But it also kind of gave me like insect vibes too, and I was like, it's this movie. I could see why people didn't like it. Well, not that I can see why they didn't like it. I could see where it threw them off.
Okay.
Because it's a throwback kind of horror feel, which is not in the same beat as horror today. So like it's hard to go from like seeing a Midsummer or even a Jordan Peele movie than
Or
going
even
to
any of James
this.
Wan's other stuff.
Yeah, because it's kind of like
different.
a creature feature. It's body horror. It's got a mythology to it. So it's out of beat with the horror of today. So I could see why it took people a couple minutes to kind of get into it. But no, I was there for it all. I was like, this movie's ridiculous.
So this is where I think we're going to vary, because I like this movie about 90% of it.
Yeah.
Up until you get to the reveal, that's when it just lost me. I'm like, this is fucking dumb.
Oh, you know when I lost my shit? It was when I was like, is that motherfucker running backwards? I was like, look at those arms. You can't stand like that.
This was James Wan, right?
Yeah.
And did he do Insidious?
Mm-hmm.
He did do Insidious.
Yeah.
Remember, Paul, when I told you after I watched Insidious how that movie was all hyped about how it's great, it's great, it's great, it's great, it's great, and I had the same feel for me where you get to a point in the movie where they're like, shit, what do we do now? It's like they ran out of ideas, and that's how I felt what happened with Malignant. Because like I said, everything up until you find out there's that weird little baby thing growing out of the back of her, I was on board for.
I knew there was a baby thing growing on the back of her.
Yeah,
I was
I was on board for all of that up until then, because I'm like, what the? Because I'm like, okay,
maybe it took you out of it because you were thinking some completely else, whereas we kind of saw it coming.
Because the one thing I was thinking, okay, is like how are they going? To me, it was like, okay, how are they going to make Gabriel actually show up? Because the one thing I didn't figure out the baby part, but I figured she's doing all of it.
Yeah.
So like, how are they going to do the reveal? Like, I was always on board. Okay, if they do the twist, okay, that won't be bad if it find out it was her. But the whole baby thing on the back of her thing is just what completely threw me off.
But are you a body horror fan? Do you like body horror movies where did you like the dark half and such? Because I don't see how you could like those kinds of films.
I've seen parts of Dark Half, but I just did I did not care for it.
Too weird for you?
It's not that it was just too weird. To me, it just seemed completely out of left field.
We'll see.
Like, when you
I think part of the problem is, and I think maybe what other fans are having too with this is, it is out of left field for James Wan, because especially the stuff that he's been doing. I mean, he's been so wrapped up in like the Conjuring universe for so long now, and that's going in different directions and all kind of spin-offs and all that other shit, right? So it is different from that, and I think the thing that people are saying that it's so much different than other horror right now, I'm like, it is. To the point that you were making, Angie, like it is, because it's not what people are making today. Mm-hmm. But this is the shit that we grew up on, Saul.
Yeah.
Like this, literally, if you watch this movie and think it's going to be a cheesy, slightly over the top, long version of a Tales from the Crypt episode from the 90s
with some weird creatures that make no sense, because why was that thing in Freddy versus Jason? No one knows.
So it's just a really long Tales from the Crypt episode that Robert Zemeckis directed in the 90s. Like think of that, and like that's exactly what this movie is, and that's why I'm like, I am on board for it.
See, that's why
it's a lot of fun. Like I know where this is going. It's been there before. I was pleasantly surprised the way that Gabriel actually looked. I'm like I said, like he was bigger than I thought he was going to be.
I'm not gonna lie though, when he first winks at her, I'm like, that butthole just winked at her.
Yeah. That
is an asshole winking at people.
The dead butthole just winked. Like, ugh.
When the cop is like, is this Sloth from the Goonies? I'm like, no, that's the asshole, right? That's what you're looking for.
So like I said, about 90%, that's what took me out of it. And I think the other thing that took me out of it is the actress who played Madison. I did not like her. Like, some of her lines just were like, I know you're acting, but I can tell you're acting. Mm. There's no emotion. There's nothing behind the lines that she's saying. Like,
I'm going to play devil advocate here, and like, she had a lot of brain trauma.
I knew there was some overacting. There was some over the topness.
Oh yeah.
Like these kind of things, for the most part, like these people are kind of not well known names that were acting in this movie. Like no one was. The one that got me. Are you kidding?
This was like a showcase of side characters from the Conjuring universe.
Yeah, I mean it's completely like
McKenna Grace plays her as a child.
The one girl that played like the evidence chick.
Yeah.
Oh
she
yeah.
Overacted the whole time.
It's funny because she reminds me of a character. Well, a lot of TV characters. She reminded me of a TV character for one, just a generic like TV cop side.
She reminded me of there was a little mousy brown chick from ER. Like she was like a candy striper or something. I don't remember the show very well.
She made me think of a character from Doctor Who, was like a side character.
Yeah. Like, she was definitely a little side character that was like, oh, okay, she's kind of there. She pops in every once in a while.
But the characters, again, I think it plays back to an offbeat humor. And I think that's what people, because the Conjuring universe is not humorous. No. Like they have those little like jokes between Ed and Lorraine sometimes, but it's never like full on humor. But there was some comedic parts in this movie, which I think might have turned some people off because they didn't expect it.
Yes, because it is different than what you're used to now. Because I think you think James Wan, you're going to think.
Oh my god!
Right,
but the cop, the chick cop, I loved her. Her with her little sucker while she's viewing the body. I'm like, that's the energy we all just have right now. There are no rules. Fuck this.
Out of all of the characters, I think she was my favorite one.
She had questions. She's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You're talking to me. You're telling me you're imagining imaginary friend is the killer.
Yeah.
Like, I loved her the whole time. She's
just like,
suspicious. She's not
You
buying
want me to put
it.
an APB out in Sloth from the Goonies?
Yeah,
like,
I
'cause
love her.
she was the most believable because
She
again, she
was.
was the skeptic about your imaginary friend's doing all this. Yeah, you're number one on our suspect list because you're making up all this shit. And she even said it. It's like husband was abusive. This happens, like, so she has motive.
Oh, okay. Well, let's.
Oh, yeah.
We can, now that we've kind of gone through our initial feelings about the movie, let's get into the movie because I have some things to say about the ridiculous parts of this movie.
All right.
So when she first opens it up and she's like, we must cut out the cancer.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, so that's going to be a recurring
See, yeah,
thing.
so- Okay,
I love the opening scene because it's like you're seeing all these people getting fucking murdered and everybody's like freaking out, like what the fuck is going on? And then all of a sudden she says, let's cut this out. And then it just goes into like a completely different thing.
Well,
Yeah,
but at
see,
that
even that
point-
hospital, I was like, okay, I'm in an old Stephen King with all the mythology and the big buildings and some East Coast, state, and I'm just like, okay,
like,
I get it
How could
immediately.
you not see this and not immediately be like, this is a Tales from the Crypt episode?
Yeah,
like,
there's
it's
so
in the middle of
much.
the night, this oceanside
But
creepy
again,
hospital.
he probably
Here's-
went into it thinking it's a James Bond film.
Yes.
It's going to feel a certain way.
I don't know, man,
and it completely doesn't feel like a James Bond film.
I'm
The
telling
thing that I
you,
did
the
feel about
edible had me as a 90s kid watching
Yeah.
Tales from the Crypt when I watched it.
Again, like I said, I knew it was James Wan, so I knew, okay, if anything I'm gonna like about this movie is the gore and the blood. Because obviously the kills were pretty brutal in this. So I'm like, okay, that's definitely a James Wan, but like I said, it's just 90%. So to me, it's like if I don't see the reveal, I will enjoy this movie that much more. Because everything else I was on board for. Because it's like, okay, like Paul said, it's you slowly start seeing these things like, okay. But then you get the reveal and it just completely took me out of it. Like I said, everything else I was on board for. So the opening scene where you have the hospital part, like, okay, this is good. This is James Wan. Now let's see where it goes.
We have to point out that Naxun Yamben was in the hospital scene.
Yep.
She was one
And
of the
Axuna
nurses.
Moon, depending on what
pronunciation you want to do, which mummy movie we're
She
talking
was
about.
also in The Curse of La Llorona, I believe, as well.
Okay.
I
So
think so. I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure. But yeah, the asylum, I was like, this is a beautiful asylum. I want to buy
Okay,
it. and live in it.
even in the opening credits, I'm like, those were 90s opening credits.
They
man.
were. They were.
They
Well,
were
they
so,
did
like
the VHS overlay
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, like they were doing that, and then they had like just look at all this information we're going to put in the opening credits for you to look and read. I'm like, this is 90s, 2000s,
Yeah.
even like.
But then
I was
yeah.
totally like fucking. I'm watching Tales from the Crypt here.
But when we jumped to present day with Maddie being pregnant, and I was really okay with how her husband died. I was like, yeah, okay.
That's what he gets.
Mm-hmm. Yep, head been thrown away. I'm like, yeah, satisfied with that death, piece of shit.
I have to say, I watched this movie for the first time yesterday, and also watched Halloween Kills the same day.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of brutal kills yesterday. So I'm like very happy. Day
It's
with horror.
October.
Well,
though,
the
so we were
husband
good.
had everything coming because you can totally tell he was the abusive one because it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it this time.
It was an accident.
It was
like,
an
bitch,
accident.
I will accidentally cut your fucking face off. How about that?
Because what? Didn't he come home from work or was it the other
She
way around?
came home.
She
She
Yeah.
came home from work, and it was the "Where's dinner?" type thing. It's like I was just at work. What do you expect me to do?
He comes home and he's like, weren't you working late? And that's when she was like, well, the pregnancy is making me sick. And he was like, oh, we'll stop being pregnant. I was like, motherfucker, I will end you right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like everything that she had did was her fault, so they started slowly building that up. So it's like when he got his comeuppance, it's like that's what you fucking get.
Okay, be honest. Who saw the face on the wall?
There was a face in the wall
You
I
didn't see the
didn't-
face on
no.
the wall
when he
the
knocked her
spot.
into it.
Yeah, the spot where he hits her head when it breaks in the wall. There's like a little face there.
I didn't see
I
it.
didn't notice
Yeah,
it.
if you look at it, there's a little like face in the wall. I'm like, haha, like just a little.
Well,
little-
that's what I was. When he does it, I was like, oh, okay, so he releases.
And
he,
what?
he wakes it back up, and
Well,
was like,
yeah.
hey.
Is she a nurse?
Well, see,
It
yeah,
looked like it.
she
She had
was a nurse or
scrubs of
something.
some
Okay, so
sort.
she's some sort of medical professionalist or professional or whatever it needs to
Yeah.
be. Here's my question for her. Why the fuck did you go to sleep with a head injury?
Yeah, I had that same question. Like, why are you bleeding all over the place? Still
It's
being
you
like gonna take a
obviously-
nap.
You probably have a concussion because you hit your head hard enough on the wall to split you open.
Yep.
It was like, and
Okay,
you're gonna go
well,
to sleep?
I don't want to be like a downer, but maybe she just kind of wanted to die.
That's true.
Good.
And she did have a head trauma, so maybe.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, like you kind of figure, the baby's not going to make it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I guess obviously it wasn't her first time. Like, you kind of know what's going to happen. Like, you got to have that in the back of your head. Like, it might happen again.
When she wakes up at the hospital and she starts crying, I was like, bitch, why are you crying? And then she was like, I couldn't do enough to protect her. I was so scared. And she's talking about her baby. I'm like, oh, okay, you can cry then. Go ahead. I was like, you better not be crying about that dumbass husband of yours.
See, even the sister showing up in her random like princess outfit. Later,
I loved
that was funny.
her princess sister.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is totally Tales from the Crypt.
It is because it doesn't make no sense. There's no
reason for it. Like just like Tales from the Crypt had random shit. Like what the fuck? And the detectives, I nicknamed them Mulder and Scully for some reason, just because I'm like, they're basically like, all right, what is going on now? Like shit. The scene where the sister's like, just fucking take us there then. Like, and I love that because it's like, okay, that is a real world thing that I love in movies where it's like, okay, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to go, we don't find anything, you can arrest us.
When her sister's like, I'm sorry, but nobody does just die that way, but fuck that guy. I was like, well, I mean, some people deserve to die that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean.
There's those piece of shit people that you hear that they die, you're like, okay, they got their comeuppance.
Sometimes they do deserve it. When she goes back home after the hospital and everything, and she's in the shower and she comes out and she starts having electrical problems, she runs downstairs and then locks the door. I was like, bitch, were you showering at home alone with all your doors unlocked after you think somebody came in your house and murdered your husband? Like, no, girl, that ain't safe.
No, but she saw what
she's smartened up though.
But at first I called it the Shadow Witch because before you know like whatever, when she's seeing the thing, especially the night the husband dies or whatever, she saw the Shadow Witch, so she's like, I get the feeling that she knows it's not something because I was like, is it the house? Like, is there some sort of connection? Again, I had just watched Halloween, so I'm like, is there connection to the house? Like, what is this weird thing that they cut off and now coming back looking for his sister in the house that they grew up in, blah, 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 until she had the cheesy reveal like, I was adopted.
Oh yeah,
And
I also
I'm like Tales from the Crypt.
No, and it was so like the wardrobe and everything. You can tell they're supposed to be adopted and not look alike.
Yeah,
she has the dark hair,
blonde
hair,
darker colors, lighter colors.
Yeah, like,
this bitch is literally a princess.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When she starts getting the information and all that, I'm like, to the VHS tapes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I love
backstory, lore.
Yep, and then we get Dr. Weaver because that's when he calls her. Gabriel calls Dr. Weaver with his weird mechanical voice. His like, cut out the cancer.
Talk about old Seattle for a second.
Oh, that was
museum.
cool.
Yeah, the museum. I like
how they built another city on top of the city.
Yeah, and I was like, so at first I was thinking too, like, okay, if they cut it off and it escaped and it just grew in the old Seattle parts on its own for years and now it's coming back for vengeance. Because I thought if they're doing that, then maybe, the hit on the head, kind of gave it like the twin connection, but, obviously like, way amped up supernaturally or whatever because they're whatever. So I was kind of going with that whole theory. Like, I'm like, all right, it adds up, because they were like, there's tons and tons of miles of tunnels down. I'm like,
I'm just going to say that's a high thought because why would he just be underground there?
Why wouldn't he be?
Because how many of those things that we see, like, there are people living under those fucking tunnels?
Well, that I get, but it was cut out at a hospital. So you're saying the hospital just threw it under the ground?
No, I'm saying
them down the toilet.
I'm saying like because I was thinking like
I'm
thinking like if they cut it off and it was still like a whole thing, like they expected it to die, but it somehow escaped, kind of thing.
But you're saying they just left it somewhere to die and didn't check?
No, I'm saying like it escaped somehow.
Andrew, think of it
like they cut it off, but they kept it because they still wanted to fuck with it, and now it escaped at some point.
Think of it this way, Angie. They flushed it down the toilet, and it lived in the sewers like the alligators.
There you go. Yeah.
No, you're making
that's
me
how they were
think
tempting
of
it.
when Freddy is born, and that little creature Freddy like crawls out into the asylum.
See,
hey, you're going with the Voldemort explanation, so it's just like the Voldemort thing that's under the bench at that point.
There you go, the
end.
aborted Voldemort. That's at the end. Yeah,
but still, that's actually pretty cool. If I ever do want to visit the city of Seattle, I want to go underground.
telling you, there's chuds down there.
I want to go down there.
I don't know. Everything is wet. I bet it's
because the one thing I found out that's like
a
huge
huge
legit thing. It's a legit thing.
The not carousel, the carriage like boneyard or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was fucking cool. With all the
Yeah.
mist everywhere.
I love that, and it was like, oh fuck, where is he?
Yeah, the museums. Fun fact: I worked in a museum, and turning everything off at night is that creepy.
Pain in the ass.
It's not. It is not only a pain in the ass because there are a ton of lights to turn off, but it is very creepy because everything's dark and there's nobody in there, and you have to make sure.
The one thing that always used to creep me out is remember when we all worked at the place we used to work at. Mm-hmm. At the end of the night, when the lights would turn off and the little museum part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That part would be creepy because they would be like, "Oh, you got to go walk it, make sure that there's nobody in there."
Yeah. Now imagine a whole building of that.
Yeah. Because the one thing you remember, the animatronic thing would fucking come on and scare the shit out of you because you didn't know when it would come on.
When she started going back in there, I'm like, why don't you turn the light on?
Yeah, I was like, don't go back over there.
And then when she would take a step and then turn back around, I'm like, just get the fuck out of there.
I'm like, they don't pay you enough to be back there
in
the
dark. You're not making
enough
to be dealing with any of this.
Nope, get out of there.
So when we get introduced to the Jane Doe character, I was a little confused because you find out later who she actually is. I'm like, okay, that's why I was a little confused because I'm like, why is Gabriel kidnapping Madison now? Because initially that's how I thought it was because I saw the long black hair, the skinny, and I'm like,
yeah, see, I saw it coming a mile away. I wasn't.
You didn't see. Like,
I wasn't surprised by much in this.
Way many years later.
No, I thought it was that, but the one thing I was
like the night. Well, think about it. It's a night, the girl, and then she's adopted. Like that's all you need to know. So
yeah, and I was not surprised at all that was just her attic. I was like, obviously, it's got the circle windows. Like
like that's what I was thinking too, and I was just like, because I don't remember. I think I said at one point like she doesn't hear any of this.
I know.
Upstairs. Like,
well, I mean, she wouldn't because it was her. But
I don't know. But rational Madison would have smelled something or heard something.
Madison had head trauma and a dude growing out the back of her head. Man. She wasn't hearing shit, okay?
Yes. What's like the back
she
of her head?
She had a winking butthole in the back of her head.
She also just had trauma because she lost her baby. And, so
she's
Madison...
We're dealing with
a lot of shit.
She is. Madison ain't hearing shit. She's just sleeping, seeing people die.
But what about her sister, though?
Yeah.
I don't know. Her sister, I was like, okay, her sister's crawling into her house when she can't get in. That's good. But I was like, y'all need to
see.
know,
That's when she wisened up because she started boarding up her house so nobody could come in.
No, like that's not. I mean, that is wise, but at the same time, like, there's probably a reason you're trying to keep everybody out. Like,
the sister kind of was there, but she wasn't there because I feel like. Her sister was that person that's like she's trying to be an actress. She works at some shitty like fantasy land.
She's got her own life.
Yeah. She's got situations on top of problems next to issues. So she's kind of dealing with some shit right now as well.
I love when they go to their mom, and she's like, "Mom, who's Gabriel?" And her mom's like, yeah. God damn it. And I honestly thought there was going to be a reveal where we find out that Gabriel put the bomb in the wheelchair.
He sabotaged.
Yeah, because I was like, what's going to happen? Because like it showed them when they started going back through the videotapes, it showed how, when she was a child, it tried to hurt the baby or whatever. So I'm like, did she maybe hurt the mom? Because in this, I was picking up on everything James Wan was laying down. And so I was like, maybe that's a hint towards it.
Yeah.
Because that's just how my brain was. I was looking at all the hints. But
at one point, I wrote down that Gabriel looked like the dude from Death Clock.
He did.
Oh yeah,
he did. If that guy had a butthole face, yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No,
when I think it was after the butthole part, but definitely when the face. There was one shot randomly where it looked more like a face and not so much like a butthole at some point.
I did like when he kills the second doctor and she's in sleep paralysis because I was like, that's what her little changes are the whole time. Like,
oh yeah.
Because I've had sleep paralysis. I'm like, yep, that's
the
how
one guy where she was in the bed with.
Yeah.
Okay, when Gabriel kills Dr. Weaver, I'm like, that is the coolest fucking line when he's like, to show you what the cancer has become.
And Gabriel had so much flair. He did.
I was like, that is the coolest fucking line. Like, just for anything, like not even just the movie for like a villain to say, but I'm like, even if like that'd be a cool song lyric. Like that's just like. Kudos to the writer for that.
Speaking of weird things, Our 7-year-old randomly said, "We don't smell the chickens smell us," yesterday. And I was like, what? What? Should I be worried about you? Or is this from something? I don't know.
The question I have, too, is who the fuck makes awards into a dagger?
That was fucking awesome.
I was like, yes. I'm like, you go for it, Gabriel.
He has style. He's got flair. He likes a little bit of showmanship,
as soon as they showed that award, I'm like, oh, he's going to kill her with that.
See, and then keeping with the 90s thing, I was like, Gabriel's going through a goth phase, man. He's going
really
through some shit. Like, he's like the unwanted child, literally. So he's like fucking
It's
vengeance.
literally like when Eric Draven comes back in The Crow and he puts all the makeup on. He's got to get himself ready.
It's the 90s, man.
Yes.
Like I said, I don't hate this movie completely. Like 90% of it I loved. It's just the little...
He looked, Gabriel to me looked like a mix between like Marilyn Manson, The Crow, and like a WWE wrestler from the 90s.
I mean, before Marilyn Manson was a piece of shit.
No, he was always a piece of shit.
He
just got exposed.
Mm-hmm.
But still, though, it's the way he just completely just kills her. It's just it's James Wan, so I knew what to expect. Okay, it's gonna be bloody. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah, he beats the shit out of her. She puts up a fight. She gets her ass tossed around that house as well.
She puts up a fight, and I'm like, just the voice and the delivery. I'm like, that's a fucking cool line.
Yeah, when he goes to kill the second doctor, and that doctor hears something and then sees all the rain on the floor, I'm like, bitch, why are you going in there? What are you guys doing? Stop checking the noises and be smart.
Yeah.
At least once.
Yeah. No.
Just leave the house.
And he cleans it up. I'm like, are you really cleaning up after?
I thought that was, I randomly thought that was John Lithgow for a minute.
I could see it.
Before he, got close to the camera.
When you see Gabriel, I wrote, Gabriel's ass is like a spider monkey. He's all crawling all over the place.
He's crawling up and down things.
Yeah. Oh, and the cop, when it's like, you're saying it was your imaginary friend. And she just stares at her. Like, bro, no.
But still, though, when they do those VHSs or when the mom tells a story about who Gabriel was and you see all that stuff, like, man, this is creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
And just to think, like, it was all just sitting there. And the chick just rolled up, like, all right, I'm going to take all this stuff. I'm like, to the VHSs. And then
I know. I was
to
happy.
the thumb drives.
I was really happy, though, because you see her going through the asylum, right? You see the sister, like, going to look for stuff. And I was here for it because, again, Freddy vibes when they go to look for Amanda and all that stuff. But she finds the VHSs, and I was like, please go somewhere else. Don't tell me you found a VHS or a fucking
There's just
VCR
a hobo room with a VCR in
with
there.
electricity randomly. So I was really happy when they pulled back out and they were at her mother's house again. I was like, okay, good.
See, I was so into the 90s vibe that I'm like, I didn't even question why they have a working VHS somewhere.
Who even has a working VHS?
That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, there's VHSs and then there's thumb drives. Like, what? Why would this be like the gap in technology here?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thumb drives were at the doctor's house. He was going through the doctor's stuff.
That's right.
So maybe she had backed
That's
it
right.
up.
He found the thumb drive.
Because what is it? He said, bring all the books because they figured, okay.
Yeah.
Because when they got back to the police station, they found that picture and it was like, age this picture 20 years.
Yeah, he asked Bosco, who I thought was just a Raiders fan because of his shirt. I was like, what is that? I thought it was just the Raiders logo. But
and then when he does that whole thing, I was like, oh, you brought in the kid. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, it's the same person. And then that's when he realizes, oh, take fucking everything. And he starts going through all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then he finds that book with the hidden hard drives or the flash drives.
Yeah, why not shake every book real quick? Like, just have someone go through them, open them, shake them in case there's a note or something in there, and then start reading them.
And that was a lot of fucking shit to go through, too, because the other detective,
this is why
she's sitting there, too. She's like, why the fuck are we doing this? I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm done.
I can't look at the kids anymore. I'm going. But bitches be falling from her ceiling all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
I love when the mom just fucking falls out of the roof.
Yeah, like, what the hell
and
is
everybody's
this?
like, I'm like, yeah, I knew it was her house. But that was a long fall. Bitch probably hurt. Somebody take her to the hospital. Gabriel's got so much sass. I love it. And I love how he couldn't leave the police station without his wardrobe.
Oh, yeah. It was like, I need my shit back.
Got to go get my knife. I got to go get my jacket.
And the other, again, because it was like Paul was saying, total 90s thing was like, okay, when is that weird investigation chick going to get hers? Because I'm like, okay, she's going to die somehow sooner or later, but she doesn't. I was a little disappointed by that.
You wanted her to die?
I wanted her to die. Because I figured she's going to die.
I loved the police station scene when she's in the jail cell and Gabriel takes over, and it's like he's wearing Madison's body. It's so ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
And he's just beating the shit out of every woman in there. I loved it.
That
I was
scene,
there for it.
yes, that scene,
The people, the other prisoners are like, "What the fuck?"
when those chicks are messing with her, I'm like, oh, this is not gonna end well.
And it was
You knew
it was so ridiculous too, because like one has like a 70s outfit
like,
on, and the
like,
other's got
there
a
were
blonde
so-
mullet. I'm
Yeah,
like,
there
what
were so
are
many
these
like
characters?
because like if you look at this and think it was the 90s, right? It's not. It's weird. Like all the imagery is not. It was like she shows up at the old like this old looking like creepy looking house like you would find in a Tales from the Crypt episode. She shows up in kind of an older car. Everything about the way everyone else dressed, like it was always just kind of like ambiguously like it could be the 90s. You don't know.
Except Gabriel calls everybody's iPhones.
Yeah. And I guess they like, but then randomly there's like like Dr. Weaver.
I also love how she's suspected of murdering a bunch of people, and not only that, but like brutalizing these bodies, right? But they put her in a jail cell with a bunch of other people.
They just put her in the regular
in general population.
Like the regular.
Like she'll be fine.
Whatever,
she'll be fine. No supervision whatsoever. She's okay.
Well, hey, she was all right in the end, I guess.
And then when that one chick starts yelling for the cops, "Hey, that bitch is getting here, killing everybody out."
Oh, that bitch was giving me Squid Game vibes. She was throwing other bitches at Madison. She's like, get him over here.
You take that one. You take that one.
Oh,
no.
Like, you can't throw everybody because you eventually will be the last one, lady.
Yes. One of two things has happened. Either the killer's going to get tired or you're going to die.
When her body starts doing all those things to turn around as like this, I'm like, Madison's body would just be fucked up all the time. Like with the cop.
See, that's why
when he goes after the cop in the beginning and he's like, he jumps down the fire escape. It's all crazy.
I know.
I'm like,
what
Madison's
is
fucking
it?
body
That
would be
gave
dead.
me, that scene, the fire escape scene gave me like Darkman vibes, honestly.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, because that's what I'm like, is this thing supernatural or like what? And then when you find out, like, I'm like, this is backwards Madison? Like,
and Madison says too, like, it was always me, so I have the strength too. But I'm like, what is it about having like a parasitic twin that makes you strong? That don't make sense.
Yeah,
I'm like, I
like,
need some A to B to C here so I can see how that adds up.
How does bending your bones the wrong way make you stronger?
Yeah,
like, that
I don't
doesn't
get
make
it.
sense either. I'm like,
The running every time, I'm like, I couldn't stop laughing when he was running or doing anything backwards because I'm like, this looks so
once
ridiculous.
you started to see that, you're like, wait, is that back? Like what? Like
You know
at
what the
first
crazy-
I was like, when we were watching, I was like, am I high or is that fucker backwards?
No,
Like,
and you know
what
what I thought of? I went, Freddy got a finger. I'm the backwards man. The backwards man.
Here's the one thing that I read, and here's a crazy thing that I read on the whole backwards thing. That was actually practical. That
How?
they brought in Kim. Look it up on the trivia.
Well, they
brought-
definitely have a contortionist to do.
they brought it in. They brought in a contortionist who does that.
That
So
poor
they
person.
put it on
Ow.
her so she can do that. She can like do stuff.
She can run backwards. Like
Yeah,
that.
she can do stuff
That's
backwards.
crazy.
It was crazy because I thought, okay, are they actually going? And that's what they said. Is on the trivia for it. It says that's what it was. It was an actual person, some Russian. I can't remember her name. Kimstrom.
Contortionist.
Contortionist. There you go.
Contortionist, yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty cool that they actually did practical effects for that. Especially like when she started doing the weird breaking of the bones or whatever it need be. That was where the contortionist came in and did all that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know they do a lot of practical stuff with contortionists a lot because,
James Wan likes to use them.
well, yeah, I know that they use some for The Conjuring 3 and the Exorcist scenes. So, yeah, he likes to do those kinds of things, which
There's
is
that
good.
one, the jangly man.
Yeah, but at the
that
same
guy.
time, I just couldn't look at it as being scary. I'm like, that's clearly a person running backwards, and it looks like a person running backwards, and it
Yeah.
looks as ridiculous as you would assume it would look.
It reminded me of that one. There's a Charlie Sheen alien movie. It's like First Contact or something weird.
Is it Charlie Sheen?
No,
or?
there's a Charlie Sheen one. It's terrible. It's not.
No,
it's not
isn't what's her face in it? Jodie Foster? In
No,
that?
you're thinking of the Matthew McConaughey, Jodie Foster one where they actually talk to aliens in some spaceship that they build that goes through the circle thing. And
Contact?
blah, blah. That's Contact. but there's a different one that's like called First Contact or something stupid.
Oh, where like their knees are backwards
yes.
or some shit. Yeah, yeah.
Where Charlie Sheen, like, for some reason works at like the satellite thing.
That's right.
And then like his neighbor kid is this black kid.
At the end with backwards legs.
Yeah, and
yes,
his
I
backwards
remember.
legs, and he runs away.
You just uncovered a deep memory in there. I had to get through
and
all the weed to come out.
he runs through the desert, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
just like that's how the movie ends.
Yes,
like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
yes. So body horror. It's,
yeah.
Yeah, I can see. Okay, so yeah, again, I can see why people had issues with this because it does throw it back to a lot of stuff from the 90s. It's 90s horror.
And the whole police station scene, holy crap.
Oh, and Gabriel just fucking chucks a chair at those two.
Not just that, though, but he goes on what I call the Terminator 1.
Yeah, the rampage.
Rampage.
Full-on rampage.
Where he just starts killing all of them and they can't do anything.
Oh, no, nobody could do anything. I was like, why is he so strong? Again, that was just
it's
all
like you have a shotgun at point blank range
and
you're still missing him.
If I bend my stuff backwards, is it going to be stronger?
And yeah, again, Madison does take a bullet or two in this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is she still running around? Like, I get it's supposed to be he's stronger and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, there are some supernatural elements because he's speaking through radios and shit like that.
Well, it was the thing is like the whole electricity thing. Like, does that make him stronger?
Yeah.
It's just like,
I know. And then see, I was just stuck in Stephen King world too because I was like, okay, well, maybe Carrie could have like used the radio in some way with her telekinesis, you know, and that's just brain power. So I was like, okay, maybe that adds up. But again, the extra strength and all that, I'm like, I need some uncovering of what they're exactly trying to do.
I just had this thing to where it's like, okay, he's affecting electro waves and electricity, so that the lights flicker. So it's obviously like his power or something, right?
Yeah.
So there is some sort of supernatural like mythos, I guess, involved in it. And I just thought like maybe like this mass or whatever, like it's just super smart and its brain is kind of controlling these things. Because I mean, he hasn't like it's broadcasting its voice, like it's broadcasting its thoughts.
Yeah.
Like at the very beginning, I'm like, through the radio and shit. So it's like obviously they can manipulate electricity. So I'm like, I don't know if you manipulate electricity into your own body, would that make you stronger? I'm like, I don't know. Horror movie wise, it doesn't need to make sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah. Again, we were high, so I might have overthought some of these plot
Probably
points.
overthinking it now. Just because he can, okay? For the same reason Dark Men could.
Yeah, but no, there are some things that I really love. I love the brutality that Gabriel has. Like I said, when he throws the chair at the two police officers, it's just like, it takes both of them out. And even in the beginning, when Madison goes flying across the room and she just like onto the floor, I loved those parts. I thought they were hilarious. And another part I really liked was the pacemaker pop.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one, too.
I really dug that. Yep. Oh, I thought there was some really great scenes and a lot of great practical work, and of course, blood. It was bloody, but yeah. I also loved at the end when when she's talking to her sister, and she was like, I always wanted a human or a biological connection, but I've had it the whole time. And I was like, yeah, because your real biological connected brother was a real dick.
See, that's where I thought the cheesy lines were like, oh, that's just. I just didn't care for that dialogue.
When they go into like the full reveal of like the surgery and everything to remove it, and it's like, and then we cut this and we'll just shove that. I'm like, just shove it in there.
I know, they're just like, we'll just compress it down.
We'll cut this part here and then just shove the rest. I'm like, just shove the rest in there. Is not proper medical. Like, it'll be fine.
Here's my question on that, because obviously she went through some major surgery because it had a face. It had maybe like a chest plate,
teeth,
teeth, it had arms. Okay, you're gonna go through major surgery, right? To remove all of this. What happened to the fucking big ass scars that you would fucking have?
They're all under her head and back.
No. I'm talking about obviously you got to take the fucking hands and all that shit off. It's part.
Well,
it's part of
be
the body.
Back though, so I mean,
you would still see some sort of scars.
Well, yeah,
you
but
would have something.
You would
on
have
your
it,
back.
but it could probably just go down. They'd probably just stretch the skin to go down along the spine, so it would just be.
But
like
even
you
if
had
you
a
had
spine
You would still have
even if you had like a
scars.
long line. Like,
yeah,
there
but
would
that
be
could you
something.
could just. She knew she was adopted and in the hospital, so it
Yeah.
could have just been like I had a brain
Yeah,
tumor.
who knows
and-
what the mom told her? Like
Yeah.
your adoptive mom.
Because
Like,
even they said
problems and
that
they gave you
too.
away.
Because they said they didn't give him a whole bunch of background. They said this, and this. But
Yeah, but I mean,
would
you just
to
have
be
a
like,
scar.
we removed a parasitic twin that could fucking manipulate radio waves.
But
Yeah.
still,
we
you're
shoved it back in.
you're an
don't worry
adoptive
about
parent.
it.
And you look at the kid. It's like, why do they have a big giant ass scar on
So
their back?
don't let the kid crack its head or anything. Just
Yeah.
but just,
Protect its head.
You got nothing to worry about. Just don't let
Like,
us
we're
crack
just gonna
its head
shove
open.
in the back. Yeah, that.
McKenna Grace, the one who plays the little version of Maddie, she's so great.
Yes.
I love her. She's in the Hill House,
I know.
the Haunting of Hill House. She's in everything.
She is so good in everything.
She's in the new Ghostbusters that's coming
That's
out
right.
soon.
What
too.
what was that one movie that she was kind of a drama where they like the Girl Scouts or whatever?
Oh, it was an Amazon one. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was an
what
Amazon
was.
original one.
She's
really good in
hilarious
that one.
in
It's
that,
really
yeah.
funny. It was like the 70s. It's set in the 70s, and they want to start a Girl Scout troop
Mm.
or something, and like they're the outcast chicks, and like I don't know. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
weird.
not horror, but it's
not horror at
hilarious.
all. But it's kind of drama, but it's pretty funny.
But I'm interested to see where she goes into horror because she seems, even as a kid, she does a lot of horror related stuff. I know she's been in Sabrina. Like I said, she was in Haunting of Hill House. She's been in Annabelle Comes Home.
Mm.
She's been in a lot of different things. And yeah, like Ghostbusters
She's
coming
been
up.
in the
So
Flanagan Waniverse and now jumping over into the
Yes.
Reitman universe.
yeah, I mean, do it. Make that money. Make that
Yeah.
horror money.
right,
Take
so
all
let's-
my money.
Let's get back to the ending of the movie, where I was hoping, but then again, knowing what we know, it was going to be a big fake out, because when she does the whole, or when when Madison does the whole fake out scene where she makes Gabriel see what he wants him to see,
Yeah.
because they do the killing of the sister. I'm like, oh shit, they're
Yeah.
going there.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what,
like, they're going there.
That's what I thought too. I'm like, what? Like, damn. Like,
You'll see, I knew it was too far out of left field. I
Yeah.
was like, nope.
I'm
see,
like,
I was
okay.
hoping they went there.
I'm
though.
like, they're going there. They're going to kill one of the people that you don't expect to kill, and he does all that stuff. I'm like, all right.
I was
all right.
hoping they went there, but like quickly into that, I'm like, it's not real.
No,
Yeah.
as soon as I saw it, I was like, she faked him out. Yeah.
She's taking control.
Because like I knew like the sister thing I was believed, but then when she went after the and killed the mom, I'm like, okay, this is something happened.
See, you were too far into Halloween Kills mode, so you're
I
like,
know.
everyone's dead. I was not.
Yeah.
I was like, nope, Madison's figured
I know.
it out.
I kept thinking, like, I kept spilling over those thoughts into this movie, and I was
well,
like, no, it's not.
yeah,
It's not.
and yeah. When she does it, I was like, okay, he's just. I liked how she was like, we have the same brain, fucker. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just start using it.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay,
It was a real blah, 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 Fight Club moment for
Yeah.
me when
Yeah.
he's like, wait, I'm holding the gun. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so it doesn't change anything.
and then he shoots him out of his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
hmm
Okay, so let's talk about fallout for the movie, because obviously it was Gabriel who did it, but you try explaining that to cops that you just freaking brutally murdered in not less than an hour ago.
okay, if you're talking like legally or whatever,
Well, based
like,
on a Law and Order SVU episode that I've seen about a lady with a brain tumor, you would still possibly get charged or like taken to court, but the court would have to take into account that you were having a medical issue at
Okay.
the time. So it's like you weren't in your right mind because you had a brain tumor or you had a growth or you had
But
like
you still
those
killed
kinds
all
of
these
events.
okay,
people.
okay,
Yes.
but okay,
So you would
but
get, like-
think about this though, even more like further past your point
Yeah.
of that, all those fucking thumb drives,
Yes.
Yeah.
of like the actual fucking
Thing.
like you just show a jury that fucking Gabriel like moving his
Yeah.
arms in that one
Yeah.
video like
The
they're
little
like,
Freddy
oh my
weed
God,
thing
yeah.
on the back
Like-
of somebody's
like
bag.
oh,
Yeah.
and then and you show them that clip, and then show them, and then we shoved it back in, and then any jury would be like, okay, that's
Okay.
not her, but
Yeah.
can we cut it off? Like, can we fix that? Like, oh, we're good
like,
now.
Can
make
we
sure-
maybe just
Well-
buy her an island somewhere where she
Yeah,
goes
like-
and lives by herself
Not
happily?
not just that though, but if she's gonna live everyday life, does she have to walk around with a helmet, because any sort of blow to the head is gonna unleash him again?
I don't even understand how like this is the first time, because the husband, for one, went way too easily to just throwing her fucking into the wall. So
Yeah.
he would
Yeah,
have
like,
done
this
it
couldn't
before.
have been the first time.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
like he's done that move plenty of times
Well, hey,
before. If
maybe
this is where he's at.
Maybe this was just the one that cracked it finally.
Maybe,
Like, I mean,
but
that's-
yeah, I was very happy. I was satisfied with all the deaths in this movie, which a lot of other movies I have not. Like
Yeah.
I'll be honest, when we do A Quiet Place Part 2, I still haven't seen it. So, because the first one didn't really do it for me. It left me with blue balls. But this one, I was not left with blue balls.
We're not talking about Quiet Place.
I know we're not talking about Quiet Place. I'm just saying it's how I feel about it. This one did not leave me with the blue balls because I got lots of deaths. Yeah, and lots of flair and sass and drama. I mean, at one point, I really thought Gabriel was going to throw some eyeliner on or something. I was like, are we going for a 1990s goth band?
Can you put eyeliner
on a butthole? I don't know. I don't know.
I think if you check the...
And I love how her fucking head just bleeding the whole movie, and she's like, oh, shit, it's bleeding again.
Like,
damn it. Go to the hospital.
Like, don't you think they would put, like, you know... All right, if we're going to shove this parasitic evil fucking that can control its own thoughts on the radio thing back into your... like. Let's put a plate here, you know.
Yeah, I
know. That's what I'm saying.
Just something to, you know. Let's just make sure this doesn't split open.
This is what I'm saying. Like going forward, is she going to have to wear a helmet everywhere she goes?
Needs to. You're going to have to. I also questioned why after her husband died, right, and she goes to the hospital and loses the baby and everything. I'm like, did no one do a CT scan for head trauma on this bitch? Like nobody looked at her head.
It wasn't covering her HMO. See, that's the problem. That's why this movie had to have been set in America, right? There was other countries like, oh, we found that. Oh, well, you have this pair. Like it would have been 2 weeks later. Like the adoptive mom would have taken. Like, let's just go get you a physical, check everything. Like there's still a chunk of evil twin.
Nope.
Let's get him out of there.
Madison literally has a break in her skull the whole movie, and nobody's seen it, even though she was at the hospital like 2 or 3 times.
And like every 2 minutes, she's fucking bleeding. She's like, and I love how she's like, oh, she just puts the towel. When she's doing the laundry and like she starts bleeding, like she just pats it with a towel and then just starts throwing it in the laundry. I'm like, you're gonna need another towel then.
Yeah, like your head's still bleeding.
I liked the in the washing machine camera zoom to come to Madison before she
with the doctor.
Yeah, well, like when it first goes to Madison, like she's putting the stuff in there and it has that zoom from in the washing machine.
Oh yeah, the circle like zoom. Yeah,
that was pretty.
Somebody really needs to address that head wound. She's going to get woozy for all that blood.
Really does. And I also kind of thought that they might have been playing with it. Like, is she really bleeding, or is that where he starts taking over? Like, because it's obvious that at some point she just freezes and he takes over.
If he starts to open, then maybe that's when it's like oozing out a little bit.
Yeah,
because he's like, all right.
And at the same time, like if you're just brain matter that's coming, like why?
The thing that I do got to bring about
you have more questions than you should be having.
I really
for a movie
do.
Of this kind.
I just remember the thing that I did like about with Gabriel is when they had the jail scene. Going back to that is when goes back and starts pulling it apart, and all the prisoners start freaking out like, what?
Oh yeah, they're like, what the fuck? Yeah. The mullet lady, the mullet lady is straight like what is this?
Like, imagine that shit, like you fucking like change your life afterwards, like that, like I will stop doing whatever.
I can't go back to jail
because they're all in jail and they're
they're
picking on the new girl who was like, they even say it's like, why are you in here? You're like, you too prissy, you're too pretty to be in here.
No. The best part of it is when she goes into the jail cell, sits down, and that lady who's pissing in the corner stands up, looks at her while she's still pissing. It's just like, what are you looking at? I'm like, don't go to jail, people. Don't go to jail.
That is a county holding cell right there. It's just a big room and there's a shitter in the corner.
I couldn't even imagine. Like, I would be like putting little pieces of toilet paper over the thing to try to pee. Like, could you all please turn around and give me some privacy?
I
am built for jail.
The chick that was peeing, the character anyway, that was either a hooker or a drug addict, or both. So
I loved the whole jail.
She didn't care about the toilet paper.
As soon as the Gabriel thing happened, that probably killed her high right away. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, what am I on?
I was like, what am I on?
Fuck.
I loved that whole scene though. All the ladies in there that get tore apart. It's hilarious.
It's deliciously brutal and just it's fun. Like it really is. Like that, it's just a one long fucking Tales from the Crypt episode. And I don't want to say it's a Tales from the Crypt movie because those are inherently different, right? Those were so different than the show. I mean, they were show-esque, but this was literally
so different
a one
from the
super
show
long episode.
And from each other.
Yeah. But I mean, this was literally just one long episode. And if you go into it thinking that, like, you will have so much fun with it.
Yeah, it's definitely has... It's going to be a fun one to go back and rewatch again and again and again because it's ridiculous.
Go back and watch it. Think of it as Tales from the Crypt.
It's got the same energy as like when Freddy's got all the different people coming out of his chest. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, all the people are talking. Like, it's that kind of ridiculous horror energy. And you just got to go in and have fun with it.
And if you think of this movie as, like, James Wan's homage to, like, 90s horror that, like, he probably grew up on, too. Like, from the Tales from the Crypt era. And, like, that stuff like that. He probably grew up on that stuff, too. And, like, that, I feel like this is a love letter to that kind of horror.
I might have to go into that thinking it next time I watch it. Because, like again, like I said before, 90% of this movie I loved. It was just that 10% that I didn't.
Yeah, see, and I think it was so polarizing because people just weren't expecting the feel.
But the thing about it, though, that I got to keep telling myself, okay, I still like 90% of it. I can't let the 10% outweigh the positive of it. Because talking to you guys, it's like that's what I'm kind of talking myself into. It's like, don't let that outweigh what I enjoyed of it.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there are ridiculous parts of this movie.
There are, but like I said, I give leeway to that, thinking it's Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, no, I completely understand.
There was cheesiness, there was over the top acting, cheesiness here, like dialogues are going to be like, there's got to be some cheesy one-liners, like, and there really are. You have those cheesy one-liners, especially from the female detective and like just random characters throughout, and it's just. This whole thing, and I'm like, it's just so much fun. I think for younger generations too, like they didn't grow up on that kind of horror, so it's weird and foreign to them at this point with everything. Like I said, especially in the James Wan universe, like it's different.
Yeah.
But it's still so much fun.
I mean, kids who grew up on The Conjuring aren't gonna know what to do with this.
Yeah, I mean, they're. Because, goddamn it, we have nowhere to watch those Tales from the Crypt episodes unless you buy the whole thing.
Yes.
So it's like, if we had it, if those were on streaming, then there'd be a whole new generation that would appreciate that.
We need it streaming.
I am really surprised by that because I think I've seen Suck It Out and I have never been able to find it.
HBO, EC, get your shit together.
Yes,
we need
somebody.
It. We need it. And
Tubi,
I think
Pluto, somebody, come on.
Shudder has that issue too. Not that they're caring or stopping anybody, but I think some people have watched the Creepshow series and been like, "This is shit." And I'm like, "You don't get it.
Yeah,
you're not getting the comic book style. Like it's supposed to be ridiculous."
I feel like it's what like the movies were, but updated to today.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to go back and kind of because it's such a different time. That the camera looks different, the film looks different. Like it doesn't have the same look, so it doesn't feel quite as cinematic to us. I think,
and you don't want it to be completely like the old ones.
Yeah,
and I think like it's what I'm saying. It's like an updated version, and it's like you're missing the gap in between there, and that's why people are like, you would have had those changes over the time that would have like ushered into what is today.
Yeah.
And like it's the fact that you're missing that, like people are like, it's just so weird.
Yeah, and it is weird. It's fucking weird.
It is weird.
And when she runs backwards, I die.
I
laugh every time. I'm not.
These are weird, but it's like it's good in all the weird ways that are good to be weird in when you're making these like body horror movies that are like. So wait, I have another question about this movie then.
Okay.
Were people did people when that first came out? I don't remember because I think, and I might be confusing with another movie, but were people like, there's such a weird twist at the end?
Yeah, people went bananas over it.
People thought there was a twist.
Was there?
People didn't realize that it was growing out of the back of her head. That was the twist.
So I saw everything coming in this whole thing.
Yeah, nothing surprised me.
And like we're horror fans, nothing surprises us for the most part.
No.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, and I think that lends to that too. Is like people that weren't used to Tales from the Crypt episodes. They're not going to see this twist. And I'm like, I saw this twist the whole way. Like, I knew it was growing out of her, but I didn't know whether it grew up separately on its own later or if it was still back there kind of thing. Like, I didn't know that part until the end. And I'm like, which gave me that pleasant surprise when you do see Gabriel. When they finally turn the camera around, you see Gabriel like with his arms running like just fucking crazy. I'm like, yes.
I love every time he like turned around and put the gloves on, and I'm just like, you're just getting dressed, like going out for some slashing.
It's like trying to get my golf on.
The baby one in when she was a girl or whatever. Kind of reminded me of the smoker guy in the Beetlejuice lounge in the waiting room.
Yeah, see, nope, I was just Freddy versus Jason all day. I'm like, that thing's just a little stoner, creepy Freddy dog. I don't even know what it is. Yeah. Nobody knows. It didn't need to be there, but it's still hilarious.
The back
and that's
of the
how
head
I
boob.
feel about that. Nope, it's Voldemort.
The back of the head boob is what I called Voldemort in that movie.
I could totally see him drinking the unicorn's blood to try to stay alive. I'm like, yeah, that's what he is.
Okay, wait a minute. If she was a nurse, it kind of just dawned on me on something right now. She could have been like the character on South Park. Remember the lady that had the
twin?
Yeah, the twin one. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was.
Basically what it
yeah,
is.
that's basically what it was.
That's what it is.
Except that
that's what she is.
It didn't have feet, right?
I don't think it had feet. I think it just had the like face, arms, the little arms, and
then kind of like a torso for a second.
She was the character from the South Park, the nurse with the fetus on her head.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Malignant. From James Wan.
Malignant. Watch it high and just pretend you're watching Tales from the Crypt from the 90s.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. But that was the second in our 2021 films. We are happy to be back, getting high and watching horror movies and talking about them with you guys. We are so thankful for the response to our Fear Street trilogy episode. We're glad you guys are loving it.
Shout out to Tennessee. For,
Tennessee, you're stepping up those downloading
a lot of our stuff recently.
Look at you.
I gotta look at the numbers and see.
Tell your friends.
Yes, tell your friends. Keep telling your friends.
If you want stickers, please email us podcast@scarenerd.com.
Yes, we have stickers. Email us. And if you guys have suggestions, if there's any 2021 movies you want to see between now until the end of the year, I think up next week we're going to be doing Spiral. We've got some other ones. Sometimes we can't watch the ones that we want to watch, so we'll see. Yeah. If we change them up, just know it came out in 2021.
Yes.
Just know that.
Yes.
We might get an email soon, so who knows?
We'll see.
So if you have a movie you want us to do, give us an email. Give us a call. We're not a radio station.
Yeah, we're not.
Give Saul a call.
No, don't call me.
If you have complaints, call Saul at 602.
No, do not call me because I will not answer and I will yell at you in Spanish.
He will. He knows Spanish.
I've done that before when I've gotten spam callers and start yelling at them in Spanish. They're like, oh, and they hang up.
Well, I'm going to just start a new YouTube with Paul's dad because Paul's dad is like, has the dad jokes of all dad jokes when it comes to telemarketers. It's like a master class in dad jokes when he answers the phone.
There should be a master class. I look at those
really
and I'm like, I want to learn Franklin barbecuing and this, and there should be like dad jokes. Like that should be a thing. Like I want there to be like dad jokes from, blah blah. Like it's just regular dads like that. That would be hilarious.
Or the other
Not that anyone needs to learn how to tell dad jokes.
Or the other thing too that I've done with telemarketers is I tell everybody to answer their phone and I just yell at the background at the top of my lungs, quit touching my pee-pee.
I don't understand who still answers their phone these days. Like if I was in a Scream movie, I just never answer my phone. They never get a hold of me.
How are you gonna update stuff like that? Like what's when a stranger calls? Like I don't know who this is. I don't know.
When somebody calls me, when my phone rings, I automatically make a face. Like, why are you doing this to me? Don't call me.
My phone
Text
says
me.
Telemarketing. I'm like, I gotta answer that. Like political call. I'm like, thank God for
my friends, the people in my life who love me. They don't call me. They text me. Like the respectful people they are.
Or the worst.
Like the only one people that call you is like they want money or it's bad news. Because like even if it's family, like hey, can I call you? I'm like, what about?
No.
Why?
What happened? Just tell me over text.
Damn it.
Yeah, no thanks. But we will be back next week.
This isn't over the phone conversation. I gotta call you.
We don't want to be called. Don't call us. Are we that generation? We're done with the phones.
Okay.
Stop it.
Is it because we're old, or is it just the way? Because I don't even think young kids want to talk on the phone. Like
no
one
I
talks
just think
on the phone.
like don't talk to me on the phone. It's weird. I don't want to do that. And post-COVID life is weird. Nobody wants to be around anybody.
Like leave me alone.
I don't even want food delivery. Like I'm fine with you just leaving it on the table.
Contactless every time.
Yeah, like I don't care. Like I don't even want to talk to. Like that's how I'm like I don't want to talk to people.
I tip between 25 and 30% just so I don't have to talk to people.
I'm fine if you leave it at the table, and then when you leave, I'll get it.
Yeah,
that's fine. We don't have.
We
to
had
speak
one
to
guy
each
yesterday
other.
who was like, I didn't want to leave it on the floor because we had Sonic last night for dinner.
Yeah,
and he rang the doorbell, and I go up to him and answer the door, and he's still holding. I'm like, oh, dude, you can put it on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I didn't want to put it on the ground. I'm like, no, that's okay.
See, like, that's why we have a table outside. So
we traveled out of our state recently and wanted to avoid people so bad we ordered Cheesecake Factory to our hotel room.
Did not want to go in.
My kids were there for it too. They're like, I'll get cheesecake to the door. Okay. Like they were there for it.
Don't want to do that.
Like I'm not going over there so I can stand outside for an hour.
Yeah.
Wait for a fucking table.
Don't text me either. Like that's fucking weird.
Paul doesn't want to be contacted at all.
No, like okay. I'm not saying like okay, when you leave the food, like fine, hey, food's outside, text, great. But like I've had some where they send me like fucking gifts where they're like waiting for your food, like, and I'm like, just give me the food. Like, don't be weird. We're not in a relationship.
We're not friends.
We don't need to be texting each other other than like, hey, the food's here. Thanks. Have a good day. That's all the texting I need from my food delivery people.
I think sometimes people, because I have anxiety, so people have anxiety in the world. They get nervous. Like,
I get it.
This guy gave me 30% tip. He wants updates, so I'm going to send him stuff.
Well, okay, but you already get the text from like the app saying like your person is waiting for your food. And it's like, I get it, man. You're just picking the food up and you're bringing it. Like, you're not making it. So, like, I'm not going to be mad at you that it's not ready.
We're going to DoorDash some carne asada fries after we're done here because I need some Filibertos talking about all this food. But anyway, we will be back next week with Spiral, most likely.
Saul, I need you to set up like a live podcast from Filibertos.
Yes.
Oh,
that
good.
One with the indoor play place. So kids can be screaming in the background.
We got to do that.
It has to be with kids screaming in the background. Or you even Adam Filibertos?
With an indoor play place. They exist.
Yes.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.